Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 18th in the series of Coffee with the Bar. From doing slightly serious sessions, we've gone on to slightly light-hearted sessions, which sometimes have some message, some advice, some suggestions, something that youngsters, young lawyers and juniors in the profession can take home. And today's session is one such. With Justice Subramonium Prasad, who, as we all know, was in Madras, in the Madras High Court and then transferred to the Delhi High Court. Obviously, from those people who have appeared before him as part of a bench and as part of a single bench, would definitely say that it's our loss and Delhi's gain. Incidentally, this topic has been subject to a lot of interpretation, the way to the Supreme Court. And when I discussed it with him, we were under the impression that there is only one interpretation possible. But we, of course, did not think about the fact that lawyers, if there are 7 lawyers, there would be 73 interpretations. And therefore, the first interpretation that was given to me was in the form of 107 applications that I have received. What do I do with those applications, Justice Subramonium Prasad? So we will reserve that for another day. So that is number one. Number two, the second interpretation that I have received from a few people thought that you're going to catch my hand and take me to the Supreme Court. That is also not a fact. The idea that we had in mind was this gentleman who's a Tamilian, though born and brought up in Delhi. Apart from being born and brought up in Delhi, he had his entire, let's say, professional career in Delhi, spanning almost 3 decades. He practiced for 28 years, and a substantial part of it was at the Supreme Court. Almost the entire part of it was at the Supreme Court. So therefore, we can say that he knows the inside out, the practice and the procedure at the Supreme Court. So the idea we had when having this topic saying the way to the Supreme Court was to help people from all around get a fair idea of what the work is there and how to get there, and not options 1 and 2 or interpretations 1 and 2. Okay, welcome Justice Subramonium Prasad. Welcome.
Thanks, Sriram. Wonderful.
Number one, I didn't know it till you were here, but you should remember one thing. I'm basically a trial lawyer, so any question I ask you, I know the answer, so you'll have to be careful. Okay, right. So you're basically a native of Palkat, is it?
I'm from Delhi. My mother is also born and brought up in Delhi. My grandparents are from Palkat, the maternal side. The paternal side, my father did his engineering from Kerala, REC Trivandrum. His parents were from a place called as Tiruvalla in Kerala.
Okay.
So, but since virtually everybody have been in Delhi, I am a Delhiite for all practical purposes.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. We're going to be seriously upset. The Palkat Brahmins are going to be seriously upset about you disclaiming that. Anyway.
If you see, otherwise we are confused. We speak Tamil at home. Okay. Others from Kerala. I think in Hindi, so I don't know.
And you express yourself in English.
Perfectly fine.
Okay. Right. Now, the first things first, as soon as you came here, not as soon as you came here, when you were the counsel for the state of Tamil Nadu in the Supreme Court, there are a few temple matters that came to you, at which point of time I used to see your name. And then after you came here as a judge, what is this unusual spelling like a harmonium?
You see,
is there any specific reason like numerology or alphabetology or something like that?
No, it's something like this. Normally, parents give name to their children. My name was given by my 10th standard clerk in school. So he wrote it as SUBRAMONIUM and that's stuck. So in your 10th class certificate, it came as SUBRAMONIUM and that's about it.
Where was he from? Bihar, is it?
I don't know, UP, Bihar, but I didn't care. But it stuck, it stuck.
Okay. We're just lucky that it wasn't a Bengali. Okay, let's leave aside your childhood, your 10th standard or your 12th standard, and the influence of various people in your name, etc. Let's directly jump to law. Did you do your undergraduation and then your 3-year course, or was it a 5-year course?
See, when we passed out, at that time there was no 5-year course. See,
Okay.
I passed out from school in 84. In 84, the 5-year course had not yet started. So 84, I did my BCom honors from Delhi University. The National Law School started when we were in the second year, which was in 88. So Professor N.R.M. Menon, who taught me legal studies, was the first Vice Chancellor of NLU Bangalore. So only after I joined the first year did the 5-year course start. As such, the popularity of 5-year course started. But in Delhi, it was always a 3-year course throughout. The 5-year course started in Delhi much later, probably in the mid 2000, 2005, 2006.
Okay. Okay. Was there some background in law as far as your family was concerned?
No, not at all. It was the easiest option out. So it was by elimination I became a lawyer.
So,
I did my BCom honors. I cleared my CA. At that time, there's an entrance examination, but there's too much of study, so I left that. Then they said, why don't you become an ICWA? I saw the course was again too much. So then by the time I was in the 3rd year BCom honors, we found that about say 15 to 16 subjects are common with law, like contract, partnership, sales of goods, negotiable instruments, income tax, company. They're all subjects of BCom honors in Delhi University.
okay.
And therefore started a bit of inclination and therefore joined law.
Okay. Okay. Law college, watching movies, following history, food, and then attending college, and in that order. Was
No,
it not?
it
No.
was all
Okay.
it was pre-law.
Oh, I see.
Pre-law, it was the 11 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 6 in that order, movies.
Movie shows.
History was a passion right from my 10th standard. So reading history books.
Okay.
Born foodie, so food. So, but once I joined law, and university was quite far, so it was only 2 and 4 to university. Morning 7:30 used to have a university special. The Delhi University at that point of time had buses ferrying students from various places in Delhi to the university. So we had specials from morning 7:30 onwards. The last special used to be at 3:30 in the afternoon. So I used to take the first special, go to the university, be in the university till about 3:30 in the evening, and then come back.
So, in other words, you were trying to tell us that that you were a model student in law. Is that it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Being in the university and being in the class are two different things.
Ah, okay. Right. Right. Okay. When you were in law college, was this concept of moot courts very famous?
No, it had just started.
Okay.
It had just started and people used to do mootings.
Okay.
But it had not yet taken the wings. It's not as senior as it is today.
Okay.
There used to be moot competitions, but very far and few. So the DU had a particular, our campus law center had an inter-college moot competition, intra-college, but never inter-college moot competition.
Okay. So, would it be right to say that at that time, when you were doing your law, were you sure that you wanted to practice? You were pretty sure in your mind?
Again, elimination. I had no other option but to join practice.
Okay.
I was not keen in the UPSC because Delhi University law is, you have three options. Either join the practice or UPSC, which was 70% of them used to take the UPSC examination because you used to get a hostel accommodation in law faculty. And the third would be any other examination like your DSP examination or income tax office examination. I didn't want to do any of that, so I joined law.
Okay. It was purely by accident and trial and error.
Absolutely by chance.
Okay. Right. Government Law College, Bombay has had many senior advocates, many regular practitioners as lecturers, as full-time lecturers. Did your Delhi University, did your law college have something like that?
No, see, at that point of time, DU had probably the best faculty in the country. You had Upendra Bakshi, you had N.R.M. Menon, you had Mahendrapal Singh, you had Shivaramaya, you had Tripathi. So it was, the faculty-wise, up to, I would say, 1991, 92, the Delhi University had the best faculty in the entire country. And you also had part-time lecturers who were good counsels from the Delhi High Court who used to come and teach.
Okay.
Like Justice Sikri, who
Okay.
from Supreme Court, he was a part-time lecturer. Justice Midda here. So now the ASG Siddharth Luthra, they were all teachers in law faculty, used to do part-time teaching.
Okay. And as far as college life is concerned, I'm sure there would be 101 anecdotes and incidents during college life. And the very smile on your face shows that most of it cannot be for public consumption.
Correct.
Okay. I love that prompt, correct. Okay. From what I hear, you were known as the quiet one, notwithstanding which, is there any interesting yet slightly decent anecdote in college life that comes to mind?
Nothing like that. You see, the point was that Delhi University college politics used to be extremely interesting. And I was extremely active in the college politics. So yes, a couple of presidents of the Delhi University law faculty do it to me.
Okay. But I've also had a lot of little birds from Delhi telling me secrets in my ears over the last 5 days since the time we decided to do a session with you, that he was a very quiet man, very observant, but very quiet. And he was a master strategist for all the college elections. And one of your classmates wanted me to casually inquire with you whether you remember a nickname that was kept by you, for you.
No, nothing. Yes, because a couple of elections I could win because of that. So I was called as a Chanakya in the in law faculty. Yes, you're right.
But having a nickname like Chanakya, I would have thought is a compliment because that refers to your...
Well, at that point of time, yes, those things mattered a lot, but now...
Yeah, I know. So after all this interesting part in law college, you ultimately started practice, enrolled in 1990 and under Mr. T.S. Krishnamurti Iyer.
No, before that, it's a very interesting story.
Okay, please.
Since I had nobody in law, and my father, who was is an engineer, he was very worried as to what will I do with my future, because he could not find anything as a lawyer with nobody in the family. So he was quite worried. So what happened was that he was trying to inquire from his friends as to whether I can be taken for work somewhere or some appointment. And it so happened that one of my mother's friends was working as a legal manager in Ranbaxy. So before my results came out, I just went, he said, my mom said, just go and meet him. He might just get you some job. So I went to Ranbaxy and then I presented myself before that gentleman, and then some other relationships came out, and then he liked me and he said, why don't you, especially since you have nobody in law, come and join Ranbaxy as a law trainee. So there was a meeting fixed up with the vice president, and the vice president virtually ripped me apart in the meeting, and he made me understand that 3 years was nothing and I am an idiot. Anyway, so but he still said that looking at your background and the fact that your father is a senior government officer, you would be of some help to me. So therefore, please join the legal department of Ranbaxy. That was somewhere in the month of May. Our results came out in July. So 3 months, my boss then started liking me and then said that I think you do not, you should have your career in courts and not in a company. My results came out and then he said, why don't you try and get a senior for yourself, and I'll put you as a retainer in the company because results are out and I could not continue in employment. So he put me on a retainer and said, you please go and find a senior for yourself. And that's how I joined Krishnamurti. And once I joined T.S. Krishnamurti, my boss said, yes, that's a good office. Now leave company and start your practice.
So you were probably the only lawyer to get into an office with a retainer already in the bank.
Correct.
Wonderful. Incredible. So, because by virtue of being in the chamber of, in the office of Mr. T.S. Krishnamurthy Iyer, were you or Madhuri restricted to the Supreme Court itself right from the beginning?
Yes, my first day in court was in Supreme Court, and therefore I continued with him till he was practicing in Supreme Court, and then became an on record and continued only in Supreme Court. So I never had a real opportunity of going down to the High Court because I had nobody.
Okay. Okay. And how long were you with TSK Iyer?
Up to 94 when he
Okay.
decided to quit practice.
So effectively, from 1993, 1994 was the time that you were a junior on your own, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now there is this, you were a local boy, so to say. Amidst all this flippancy and all that, we come to one serious thing. A lot of young minds, young lawyers, even law students who would like to make a mark at the Supreme Court. Whether that's advisable, not advisable, that's a different issue. But a lot of them would want to go there. See, as far as your thought process is concerned, what do you think is is probably the crucial thing that will have to be kept in mind by a young junior if he or she wants to practice in the Supreme Court right at the outset?
See, this is a question which shall be divided into a lot of parts. First of all, one must understand that the Supreme Court practice is unlike a High Court practice or a trial court practice. Reason is this. If you read Article 136, it says Supreme Court may in its discretion grant special writ of appeal. So it's a pure discretion under 136. And in Supreme Court, if you would say, you have Article 142, which is the power to do substantial justice. So there, things are painted on a much larger canvas. And equity plays a huge role in the decision-making process in the Supreme Court. Law, I would not say it takes a second seat, but it's a mixture of equity and law. So if you start practicing Supreme Court from point one, I do not know how do you train yourself in law as such. And I had that difficulty, believe me, because once you start going in the equity business, then you really go and train yourself and focus yourself on equity, and law definitely takes a slightly a backseat in the Supreme Court as such. So I would generally advise that children must have at least 1 year grounding in their high courts or the trial court to start understanding law. I'll give a simple example. Suppose, let me take a very simple example of bringing an LR on record under Order 22. Now, unless you've not walked through that process of an application being filed, how it is filed, you would not understand that in Supreme Court. For you, take it casually because it ultimately gets condoned in Supreme Court, whatever is the delay. The reason is entirely different because a matter comes from Silchar or from, say, the Kutch area where the client talks to the local lawyer, who talks to the High Court lawyer, talks to the Supreme Court lawyer, the delay takes. And therefore, the concept of delay, the concept of filing it in time, the concept of limitation gets diluted to the Supreme Court level and does not get that kind of attention, and that lawyer is prone to fall when it comes down to serious business. So I would generally advise that your first 1 year, please be in your respective state before you move to the Supreme Court directly.
Okay.
So you have some grounding, understand the importance of small issues, which completely fade into oblivion or insignificance in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Therefore, instead of your law, as an intern, you want to come, you want to see Supreme Court, you want to see giants argue, fine. But after passing out of law, I would advise, please, for 7 months, 8 months, 1 year, be in your high court or in your trial court to understand, observe, read law.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Another point that a lot of people will have to necessarily make a decision about is the fact that jurisdiction effectively at the Supreme Court among the lawyers is divided into home and away, like the football matches. See, it's a different thing for a local like you to directly go to the Supreme Court.
Correct.
What about, let's say, a person from Kerala, a person from Sikkim, so to say? A junior there in Kerala or in Sikkim would want to come to the Supreme Court and make his mark. So what would you suggest for them? I mean, what is your suggestion?
You see, Delhi is an expensive place. Let's take it, accommodation, food, transport. Delhi is an expensive place. So therefore, when you're coming to Delhi, even as a raw bachelor, you require a substantial amount of money to sustain yourself in Delhi. That's point number one. Now, if a person comes to Supreme Court with a decent amount of backing, with somebody to feed him with some matters, or he's prepared to be a parasite on his parents for some more time, then it's good. He comes to Delhi, joins a senior or an advocate record, then clears his on-record examination, and then gets his matters. But what about a person who is a complete raw junior who has nobody, takes a train ticket and comes to Delhi? Now, when he comes to Delhi and comes straight to Supreme Court, so obviously, unfortunately, nobody will take him as a junior immediately unless you have some kind of a recommendation, some kind of a backing. Then the problem comes as to what does he do? So before entering Supreme Court, you must have some kind of an opening in an office wherein you can join. And then you also need that after a couple of years from where will your procurement come? Because please understand, every lawyer in the high courts have got their own links in the Supreme Court. And it's very difficult to break that link. Because that link is established over a period of time where there is a trust which is built between the advocate in record and the local lawyer here. So procurement becomes an issue. Now, if you have some person or family is there who is prepared to feed you, say 2 SLPs a month or 3 SLPs a month, very good. If you don't have, then what is your option? Their option only seems to be you have to join a firm, learn law, get your grounding, then come, I would, in my parlance, fishing in the various high courts to try to catch fish.
Okay. And one more follow-up question on that. Would you say that these kind of juniors who decide should be choosy or otherwise about the kind of matters that they take up at the Supreme Court, or they should take everything that comes their way?
See, Supreme Court, we are all jack of all, master of none.
Okay.
Now, an on-record office would do matters from marriage to murder in that order. So as I said, since there is hardly any trial work there, you have virtually everything on the platter. You have a trial. You have starting from a plaint down to your trial court judgment, your first appellate court judgment to the high court judgment, and it's there with you. So it's primarily interpretation of law and application of law on a given facts, and in a criminal case, application of evidence. So therefore, in Supreme Court, you should be in a position to do anything and everything that comes your way, from matrimony to tax to criminal law. And that's how most of the advocate records in Supreme Court are. They take whatever comes in their way, whichever matter comes to them.
Okay, right. Well, I'm just curious about one thing. When you said you have to be jack of all trade, master of none, you bracketed marriage and murder together. Was it coincidental or?
Many times one follows the other, that's why.
Okay. So after all this time, let's move on to slightly lighter things. So you became an advocate on record.
It's not Order 22 marriage and insolvency also. It's marriage and insolvency together, correct?
True.
Death, marriage, insolvency.
Yeah. So you became an advocate on record in the year 96, is it?
Yes, correct.
Okay. By this time, your individual practice was reasonably decent?
No.
Okay.
It was not. See, I was lucky because TSK decided to shift practice somewhere in 94.
Okay.
And I became a non-record in 96. So when he left, he virtually gave me his running practice.
Oh, I see.
So I was lucky enough to carry on with his work. So when I became a non-record, I had about 15, 20 lawyers from Kerala who would give me work. Secondly, and most important was that my friends in Delhi had started getting roots. And I was the only man in Supreme Court.
Ah, I see.
And their matters are coming to me in the Supreme Court.
Okay. Now, slightly probably the only intrusive question. In around 1996, at the time of becoming an advocate on record, your practice wasn't that great to write home about. So when did you get married?
92.
Ah.
It was a child marriage. What do I do? Before I got my wings, my father clipped it.
Ah, okay. So if it was 92, you did not follow the traditions of a proper Palakkad Brahmin and have a love marriage, is it?
Nah.
Okay. Because the Palakkad Brahmins that I know, certain ones that I know had love marriages. Okay. So by this time, by the time you became an advocate on record, etc., you had become a workaholic.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
So approximately 18-hour days were common?
I never came back the same day to my house.
Ah, I see. I see.
We
So
never came
we're
back the
talking,
same day. Be it Friday, be it Saturday, be it Sunday, be it Holi, be it Diwali, be it New Year's.
okay. After becoming an advocate on record, your practice grew in terms of the number of juniors, number of cases, appearances?
Yes, see, after I became an advocate record, since the work started coming, you see, in Supreme Court, the mantra is availability and dependability.
Ah, okay.
You have to be available 24/7. Money or no money, you have to be in court. So there could be matters where the client will or the local lawyer will just send you the brief and say file it. Now you can't be waiting for the check to come before you start filing it. You have to file it.
Okay.
And availability and dependability is what pushes you. So there have been a number of occasions where I have filed matters even getting the court fee.
Okay.
And money has come later. So once that you are able to establish your dependability and availability, then work starts flowing.
Okay. And so it was basically 24/7, 365 days a year.
100%.
Okay. Now, for the benefit, now this is another serious thing that people outside of the Supreme Court have never been able to understand. For the benefit of all the youngsters here, what exactly is the work done by an advocate on record, and what does his work entail?
You see,
I will just add on one more question. Probably you can answer it in a comprehensive way, because in many cases, as soon as the case is filed, when it comes up for hearing, the advocate on record in most cases says that a senior has to be engaged. And therefore, what exactly is the role of an advocate on record?
you see, Order 4 of the Supreme Court rules defines what an advocate on record is. Now, an advocate on record is a person who, after 5 years of practice, that is 4 years practice and 1 year training under an on record, takes an examination called as the AOR examination. And once he passes an AOR examination, he registers himself as an advocate record. And the advocate on record is the only person who is competent to file cases in Supreme Court.
Okay.
So in order to file your matter in Supreme Court, you have to clear the examination, register yourself as an advocate record, and then you are entitled to file. So for a case we filed, a wakalatnama in the Supreme Court can be filed only by an advocate on record, a person who is registered as an advocate on record in the Supreme Court. So he files the matter, and that is, he drafts it, he prepares it, he files it, processes it, and gets to the court. Now, what the traditional thing is that it is the advocate on record who has to argue the case himself. Because the fact that a person who comes right up to Supreme Court is apprehensive about his case, he wants to engage somebody who's a designated senior advocate. And normally he gives or asks the advocate record, can I engage a senior advocate? And therefore a senior is engaged. Because please understand that that is the last shot a client has. And so more often than not, the anxiety in the client prompts the advocate record. Or even the on record on his own when he finds that the case is so weak. Because normally when you lose in 3 courts or you lose in 2 courts, the chance of success or survival in Supreme Court is very remote. At which point of time, this on record himself suggests, do you engage a senior advocate? And then you go to a person who is a designated senior advocate under the advocate's record or under the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Otherwise, the on record is the fulcrum. He is the heart of the matter.
Okay. Okay. Right. So I've also been informed that of all the juniors who are advocates on record, you probably have encouraged and ensured that more than 20 or 25 people from your office have become advocates on record?
Yes. You see, if you want to practice in Supreme Court, I call becoming an on record as a removal of a disability. It's not acquiring an ability. You are disabled from filing in Supreme Court because you are not an advocate record. So in order to remove the disability, it's better that you remove it at the earliest. Because if you decided to be in Supreme Court, then you be the master of your case. Otherwise what happens? You engage an advocate record to do your work. Now today it is hunky-dory. Tomorrow there might be difference between you and the advocate record. In which case he is the one who is married to the case as the on record. And it will be very difficult for you to answer your clients regarding a matter filed by somebody else. Therefore, in order to remove a disability, I always encourage my juniors that if you have come to Supreme Court, want to practice in Supreme Court, please clear the examination. That's one. Number 2, youngsters who want to practice Supreme Court also like to be in the panels of states or of various PSUs. And the first question which anybody asks is that, are you an advocate record? Now, it is also a step in order to be empaneled for appearing in the Supreme Court for those PSUs or other state undertakings, because you yourself are an advocate record. So, if you either you develop as a counsel in Supreme Court, which is a difficult process, or you become an advocate record and then start developing forward, which is much more easy.
Okay. So, having contributed a minimum of around 20-25 juniors from your office or as advocates on record, it is but natural that all juniors in your office are very, very favorably disposed towards you, at least the ones that I have spoken to. Okay, and now talking about juniors, let's play a small game. It's just a 2-minute game. Remember, I know the answers to all this. It's just a simple question of true or false. All this information exclusively from your juniors, not necessarily at Delhi, all over. Okay, right. January 1st, Diwali, Puja, Christmas, etc. No vacation, no holiday. The only thing is you can come 2 hours later. Correct? True or false?
Absolutely. 100% true.
Terrible, I must tell you. Okay, at least just a follow-up question. At least if they were getting married on a particular day, could they take 1 day off?
Well, I got married on a Wednesday. I was in office on Friday.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
I can tell you 9th September is a marriage anniversary, which was on a Wednesday. And on 11th, Krishnamurti I said, will you come to office on 11th?
Okay.
So I was in office on 11th.
Okay. Incidentally, just to take a detour, I don't know whether you heard Justice C.V. Karthikeyan speak about VSS. It seems he would be working, on our platform a few days ago. So he would be working till around 11 o'clock, 11:30. And then suddenly he would look at the clock and ask VSS, sir, can I leave? So VSS would look at the clock and then tell him very regretfully, if you want to leave so early, I do not know how you're going to succeed in the profession.
Correct.
So were you related to VSS in any way?
No, I was not. You see the point, and my office normally used to work till about 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh.
And yes, and they had to be back in court at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And many of my juniors used to stay about 20 kilometers away, so they go, probably have a drink to get over my scoldings, and then sleep and then come back to office the next day.
Okay. Statement number 2 for true or false. It is all your juniors have not said it directly. It has been indirect. All the people who come to brief you, well, whether from Delhi or lawyers from Madras, have said that you are extremely affectionate in the way you address them. Normally you address them in not bad language, but colorful words, which are normally reminiscent of four-legged animals of burden.
True. In fact, their names are stored in my phone with that name followed by the four-legged animal.
Animal, yeah, true. Okay. Okay. Number 3, the only council for the state of Madras who did not know how to read and talk in Tamil?
No, I don't. In fact, when I was a standing council of Tamil Nadu, I would keep on speaking and the guy in front of me would keep on nodding his head. And then ultimately, when I had only one Tamil junior, and then he will ask him, said, "Sir, enna sonnaru?" Then second question is, "Badagama peshnara, sadagama peshnara?"
The way you speak in Tamil, the few words that you speak shows your ancestry from Kerala.
Yes.
Anyway, your juniors have number 1 said that you were a one-man army. You were a very kind person. You're a very sensitive person. You're a very lenient person. You allow them to argue. You've given them the liberty to do their work. Have they told me everything that you've told them to? They have.
The point is that when a person joins your office, he's a part of a family.
Okay.
Now, if he's a part of your family, then unless they don't grow, how do you grow? And I'll give a simple thing. When I became a senior advocate, it was my children who supported me. Because otherwise, when an on-record becoming a senior, the other contemporary on-records don't like to brief him. It's your juniors who step up and take that risk with the brief and engage you as a senior advocate. Because in Delhi, unlike what I saw in Madras, once you become a senior advocate, you surrender your practice of files and you give away files. You don't file. You don't file anymore. You do not deal with clients at all. And at that point of time, there are many persons who became senior advocates and virtually had no work. And it was only my children who stood by me and who had a trust inside me to argue for them.
Okay. Okay. Now, another advantage, according to me, that you had when you came into the profession itself was the fact that your father-in-law, Mr. Balakrishnan, was a renowned senior advocate in his own right.
Yes. Yes.
Were you in the same chamber as him at any point of time?
See, what happened was that when I was Krishnamurti Iyer, so I was not in his chambers. When I came out of Mr. Krishnamurti Iyer's office, that about a year's time, yes, since he was there, then till I became an on-record. Once I became an on-record, what happened was he became a senior advocate.
Okay. Okay. Well, and we're talking only about that 1 year when the two of you were together. Was there any special advantage of being the son-in-law, or was it a total disadvantage?
No, it was. See, first thing, library.
Okay.
Library is a major advantage. 1. Number 2, guidance.
Okay.
I mean, a phenomenal amount of guidance. You get stuck in the matter in order to present it, how to present it, what would be the reaction from the court, how to tailor it. You see, in the Supreme Court, since the window to argue is a very limited window and you want to argue matters, you have to tailor your arguments depending upon the court where you're arguing. And tailoring comes to you only through experience, and if you are getting ready experience from a senior, it's welcome every time.
Okay. And talking about experience, as a junior, what was your experience in the Supreme Court, let's say for the first 10 years of your practice, till around the year 2000?
See, Supreme Court, that is why when I advise youngsters, see, in Supreme Court, the tendency is that everybody is in a plane where they are very sharp. Your arguments have to be extremely chiseled. You have to strike at the right place. So what happens is that generally juniors are scared to open their mouth inside in the Supreme Court, and that's why it is easier for people to argue in the High Court, get that confidence inside themselves before they start coming to the Supreme Court, start addressing the court. And initial, of course, the 4 years with TSK, the advantage I had was that I could see a man argue, so I gained a lot from it. Number two, the advantage I had was that couple of matters where the Honorable Court was reluctant to argue, he would give the brief and said, start till your senior comes. And when you told the court that I am his chamber junior, I am starting, is coming on the way, a bit of leeway, leniency comes from the Supreme Court, from people who are above 60 towards a young junior. That kind of sympathy normally comes in. And I had the advantage of that.
So your experience has been very good.
Extremely good. I had no issues.
Okay. But generally, you say that it is slightly difficult for a junior straight away at the Supreme Court?
100% yes.
Okay.
If you
Right.
and especially see the point, what happens is that when a raw junior comes to Supreme Court, his cases are far and few. So for him, the performance pressure is not inside the court, but his performance pressure is to get the result. Now, in order to get the result, the tendency is to engage a senior advocate immediately. So he does not go into the court to argue, with the result that inhibition continues throughout. And as time slips by, he then only becomes an advocate on record and never ventures towards arguing matters.
Okay.
Whereas if you have done a bit of a stint in your High Court, you don't have the stage fright.
Okay.
You ultimately you start speaking inside the court, and that's where the difference comes.
Okay. Now, you also, apart from TSK Iyer and your father-in-law, obviously, you also had a lot of interaction with TLV Iyer, is it not?
Yes.
And how is he? Because I've had a few interactions with him.
Very silent. You see, he was unlike most of the Supreme Court lawyers, both Krishnamurthy Iyer and TLV. See, Delhi is aggressive. So the advocacy is also aggressive. TLV was a very silent lawyer who was not aggression, who did not have too much of hand movement in his manner of arguments, and very silently would put his point across. It was good and bad, in the sense, extremely effective in a final hearing.
Yeah.
Where you have to keep on batting, where histrionics don't work. But probably in a case where you need that push inside the court, in the 2-minute fight, would be a difficulty in both cases.
Okay. Right. So we shift from all that and we come to the time that you became a standing counsel for the state of Tamil Nadu. Then subsequently you became the additional advocate general. Whether it was at the center or at the state, you had absolutely no political affiliation. Yet, standing counsel for almost 3 to 4 years and additional advocate general for a rather long period.
2012 till elevation.
That's around 6 years.
6 years plus.
7 years. How did this happen? Because normally this appointments are politically at least pushed. So an avowed non-political man, I'm not asking how it happened, but how difficult was it for you to, go by what the state was saying?
No, see, there was no question of doing what. See, as an on record, you had to do what the state wanted you to do.
Okay.
Now, then there's no questions asked. Then it's like you have to march along and do or die. It's like there's no question as to you really can't question decisions, and especially the government where I was working, there was no chance of asking why. You're only there to do and die. So there's no question of asking. See, once I became the standing counsel, what mattered at that point and what stood by me was my speed. My speed for filing matters, pushing it, getting it inside the court, and getting the matter through. Now, there have been days, I would say at least on more than 20 occasions, where I've hit Supreme Court in less than 12 hours. Judgment delivered at 4:30 and SLP filed by 10:30.
Okay, so let's, in simple words, let's phrase it as a period of intense political activity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so like you said, you had to start at 4:30 in the evening and probably go on till 10:30 in the next morning, till such time you filed it. At that time, wasn't your private practice a sufferer?
No, see, that's why I was lucky enough to have a good team of kids always with me. And fortunately, since I did not have too many matters from Tamil Nadu, my practice is more from my friends who were in Delhi and who had gone to other states who were my friends in law faculty. And I still have my work from there. But no, if I had 7 state matters, I also had 7 private matters. So, and that is why we had to work till 2 in the morning and be back at 8 o'clock again in the office.
Okay. So, it has been very, very clearly specified and stated to me along with dates and times and year that many of the advocates from Madras, especially representing the state who used to come, they used to catch an evening flight along with the order copy in their hands. And they used to come straight to your house or your office, and you used to work overnight. So much so, especially during this period of frantic and frenetic political activity, that they were considering renaming your office as Tamil Nadu House. Is that right?
Yes, I still remember one day there was a matter which a single judge was moved on a Tuesday morning. The division bench on Wednesday afternoon, SLP filed on Thursday, and stay on Thursday morning.
Incredible, I must say. Incredible. So that's the speed that you were referring to. Otherwise, matters being filed in the Supreme Court for it to appear is a rather laborious process.
Yeah, see, normally as a state council, you divide your matters into extra sensitive, important, and the normal run-of-the-mill matters. Normal run-of-the-mill matters, yes, it takes its own time and its own way. But yes, the extra sensitive matters have to be done and very carefully and very fast, because there the time becomes the essence.
Okay. So at this point of time, you also became a senior advocate in 2015. Correct.
It is, and it was primarily because of, see, what happened was, I still remember, one day a junior came to one of my chief juniors who had become an on-record, having his own practice. He came and said, boss, now it's time for you to switch gears. I said, why? He said, boss, I had to refuse a matter because you were the advocate record on the other side. And I didn't want to take up a matter when you are on the other side as an advocate record. It's time for you that you become senior. We are there now. We are about 20 of us who are there. Why do you want to eat from the same plate? And
proper example for a foodie.
and that is how the whole thought process of a senior advocate came. Otherwise, I was inclined. My aim was to become a judge. Seniority was never a destination in my, in the desire to become a judge came on the very first day when I got enrolled. In fact,
Okay.
I was enrolled on 16th of August 1990. And on 16th of August 1990, I just, at that time, the enrollment in Delhi used to be in the Delhi High Court only.
Okay.
And from there, I just ventured into the court and inside the court, when I went to the first courtroom, I said, I want to go there. And that interest continued. So seniority was never a thing, but it so happened that when number of your juniors become on records, then you want to then go to the next higher
Next level. Yeah.
level, and that's how.
Okay. But after becoming a senior advocate, at which point of time you were also the additional advocate general for Tamil Nadu there. You also had a lot of matters all over in other high courts, is it not?
Yes.
So therefore, there was an explosion of work. How did you manage? The reason that I am asking is, it is not just juniors who want to come to the Supreme Court. It's also seniors, let's say people with 20 years of standing, senior advocates, retired judges from the high courts who want to come there. So I'm just combining those two instances and asking you, what would your suggestion be? Obviously, it cannot be advice, but what would your suggestion be to people of that age group? Let's say at the age of 45, 50, or maybe even 60,
See,
who want to come to the Supreme Court and practice?
See, there are two ways of looking at it. If you want to do a real serious senior advocate practice, not an advocate record senior office. You see, unfortunately, what happens is that many people coming over to become an on record and a senior together in the same office, which is generally not to the liking of many people. When you are a senior advocate, you have to be a senior advocate. You should not do your on record practice, or you should not indulge in drafting. Now, if you want to develop as a senior advocate and you are on the verge of becoming a senior, or you're already a senior advocate in any part of the country, you must have a buffer of about 30 to 40 lakhs with you, which you can play around with. Because if you come to Delhi and you need a 2-bedroom drawing accommodation in Delhi, would cost you about 80,000 rupees per month as rent in a decent locality. You need a clerk whom you have to pay about 20 to 25,000 rupees a month. You need a car where a fuel would be about 15 to 20,000 rupees a month. So your running expenditure alone comes to about 1 lakh to 1.25 lakhs a month. Apart from that is your food, etc., or the running household expenses, which is another, say, about 30, 40,000 rupees a month. So you require somewhere around 1.5, 1.6 lakhs a month just to keep you alive.
Okay.
And when you come to Delhi, breeze won't come to you. You have to be there, seen in the court, work or no work. Because your hearing comes later. First you have to be seen and then heard. And maximum, say, and from your state also, the amount of feeding that will come to you, it will not be more than, say, to start with, modest 3 SLPs a month or 4 SLPs a month, which means 4 appearances in a month, not more than that. Then you have to cultivate, develop, wait for opportunities to come your way, perform in those opportunities, and then climb up your stairs. So it should require a waiting period of about 2.5 to 3 years. And then, yes, and once you break that barrier and go, then sky's the limit.
Then you're made.
Then you're made. But you still have to wait for 3.5 years and survive on your savings.
Okay.
Of what will comes by your way.
So that's the advantage that the Delhi boys have.
Correct.
Okay.
Otherwise, what happens is you then tend to be an advocate and record senior, which is you are a senior advocate, but then you take the brief directly from the local advocate. You draft it yourself, get it filed through somebody else.
Okay.
Which ultimately what happens is that it is a dislike of your local bar. Now, for example, if you are from Tamil Nadu and you are talking to the local lawyers in Madras, filing your matters in Supreme Court, whom are you cutting? You're cutting the other advocate records in Tamil Nadu who have struggled their way in Supreme Court.
Okay.
Because what does the local advocate in Madras see? He sees a one-stop shop. He sees an on-record and a senior together. Where the local on-record is cut out. And that is, I do not know how a person wants to develop.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, does the Supreme Court have enough work for all these seniors?
See, there's no dearth of work. The question is the quality of work.
I will add one more question to that. Nowadays, I see so many, even from the Madras High Court, I see so many people, so many lawyers from the Madras High Court flying in the morning and flying back in the evening, both seniors and regular lawyers. So with all these people converging on the Supreme Court, does it still have work? Is the pond, pond still big enough?
There is no dearth of fishes in the water.
I see.
There is enough work. Okay. But as I said, the quality of work differs.
Okay.
See, at the end of the day, lawyers come because they anxiety of the client. Now, if a client does not trust the local lawyer or the local setup more than the setup in Supreme Court, that's why he sends the local lawyers from the state to the Supreme Court. A person who cannot afford that has to depend upon the advocate record there. Yeah. And you have matters of a small house rent control matter to a big takeover of a company. So you have matters right from 10,000 rupees per appearance to 10 lakhs per appearance. So work is there.
Okay.
But the nature, the quality and the value of the worker differs.
Where you fit in is a different question.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. You've said it yourself that when I was very decent in saying 18 hours per day of work, you said, no, it's actually 24 hours a day of work. Okay. Now, with all this kind of work, probably one serious question for a lot of people, not necessarily at the Supreme Court, all these workaholics like you, how easy was it on your health? I mean, did you have a life of your own?
Life, no.
No.
Health took a major beating. When I became the standing, apart from being the standing counsel of Tamil Nadu, at the same time, I was also the counsel in the Harshad Mehta scam.
I see.
So I was appearing for the custodian, fighting all the scamsters, starting from Harshad Mehta down to Bhupen Dalal to Bhupen Dalal and all. So that was another very high tension and high pressure work I had, apart from being the standing counsel of Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
And well, yes, it got me diabetes.
Okay. Okay. So how do you suggest? See, you've got it, so let's leave that aside. Don't you think that lawyers nowadays should have a reasonable balance between work and not at all? Okay.
So the point is that it's very easy to say work by work. If you have work, then there's no question of anything else. See, at the end of the day, as when you get work, I mean, any lawyer, when he gets work, he normally what takes a sidestep is the family. When you don't have work, fine, you have time for everything. But the moment you start getting work, you really can't say no. Because all of us are insecure. Because for us, this could be the last work in our life. And then when the work keeps on coming, you can't say no and you keep on doing it. And once you keep on doing it, there's hardly any time left for your family.
Okay. So people cannot accuse you of being politically correct. I did not expect such an answer. Anyway, so let's move away from your work scenario for some time. As far as your hobbies are concerned, your passion, your activities, you claim to be a self-professed history buff. How did that come about, and was it with specific reference to something? For example, some people like Mr. N.L. Raja are very, very keen on architecture, heritage, etc. Are you like that, or?
No, it just that the subject fascinated me.
Okay.
And I was lucky that I could travel to a lot of places. And so when I went, the history, I was enchanted by that, and I started looking and started reading it up. And once I became a lawyer, that the question of equating history with law, with economics, with politics at that point of time, that does give an insight in a lot of things.
Okay. And how you brought all those things together was the role play done by Chanakya, is it?
No, that was that was entirely a different.
Okay. Some people said that probably till such time you said till such time you joined law college, you were a serious movie buff.
Oh yes.
And that's one movie a week or 2 or 3 a week?
Sometimes 3 movies a day.
3 movies a day. Wonderful. I'm sure I know how you got your attendance.
See, fortunately, Delhi University in 84-85 was not very much of a stickler to attendance. So yes.
So was the Madras Law College till around 94.
Yes. So.
Okay. So that was around 87, is it?
Up to 87. 87 I joined law.
Okay. So till 87, you knew everything that is to be said about Hindi movies.
Correct.
And after 87, you know nothing.
Nothing. Because I joined, once you went to the university, as I said, from morning 7 to evening 5 years at the university.
Okay.
And after that, normally your friends from law college came to you, because at that time since I was involved in the college politics also. So things used to go on our walks from Sarojini Nagar up to Chanakya Cinema. And then yes, have a cup of coffee and then walk back. And then things used to go on like that.
Okay. Now, the influence of your father-in-law, the influence of T.S.K. Iyer, and to a certain extent, your interaction with T.L.B. Iyer. Okay, on one side. The second part, you're basically a Tamilian, though towards the Palghat side, etc. Did you still only manage to watch Hindi movies, or did you foray into Malayalam and Tamil as well?
No,
not at all.
Since born and brought up in Delhi.
Okay.
And since I did not know how to learn to read and write Tamil, so it was primarily Hindi movies only.
Okay. Favorite film actor?
Nothing, anything under the sun.
Anything was okay. Okay. It just had to be a motion picture.
That's about it.
Okay. Right. Okay. You're also seriously into traveling. Was it traveling for the sake of traveling as an exploration of new places, or was it with reference to a pilgrimage? Because you're also supposed to be a very religious or spiritual person.
Yes, it was more to do with pilgrimage.
Oh, I see.
So, yes, and fortunately after becoming a senior advocate also, I could appear in most of the high courts in the country, and I could do a lot with that also.
Okay, right. Okay. So is this something that is not too well known about you? Is what your right hand does is not known to your left hand? And is the fact that you were donating a portion of your earnings to the Namakkal Anjaneya, is it not?
Yes. Yes.
You still continue to do that?
Yes.
Oh, that's remarkable. Why the Namakkal Anjaneya?
He's a business. See, what happened was it's for some reason that deity fascinated me. I went there in my 8th standard or something like that, and then that deity fascinated me, and then he became a business partner.
Okay, and Namakkal Anjaneya, of course, if my memory serves me right, is rumored to be made from a single block of stone.
Single block of stone, yes.
Single block of stone. And 5th century?
People say 5th century. I say it's ageless. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We still do not know who constructed, from where the deity come, or who installed the deity. It's still I still have not got any solid answer for that.
Okay.
As to in which period of, in which era was that temple constructed?
In spite of you being the history buff.
Yes, yes. Nobody has yet. There are many temples in Tamil Nadu where you can, pinpoint that it was constructed by the early Pallavas and developed by later Cholas, and then contribution by each king. But as far as Namakkal Anjaneya is concerned and the Narasimhamurthy temple is concerned, there is yet nothing to say in which era was it constructed.
Okay. Now we move on to two things which are interconnected. That's why we're asking you this. One is sports and the other is food. Okay. A good sportsman will be extremely careful around food to the extent of almost avoiding it, except for very healthy stuff. A good foodie, which you are, you will avoid sports.
Perfectly correct.
So you've never played sports in all your life?
Never.
Okay. And at the, correct me if I'm wrong, your wife is a doctor.
Yes.
Okay. At the time that you got diabetes, this is something that came to my mind just now.
The physical fights even happens every 15 days when she has to prick my finger to find out blood test. So if I come to know that she's going to take my blood test tomorrow, I'll starve one day before, give a proper decent reading, and then go ahead with the food.
Okay.
Many days my office have been raided by my wife to find out burgers and pizzas and chocolates on my table.
I thought you were going to say if she's going to give you an injection, you'll start running that day.
Nah.
Okay, right. I have been told, which you'll have to confirm, that you don't drive at all.
No.
Okay. In spite of which, theoretically, you're basically Google Maps for a lot of your juniors.
Yes.
Okay, right. People swear by your knowledge in respect of phenomenal places to eat, specific foods.
All over the country.
Correct. Not only in Delhi, in Jaipur and in Amritsar. You know who has... No. Jaipur and Amritsar, you know who has told me this piece of information. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Now, how did this happen? I mean, all over the country, how do you know where to go in Bombay, for example, for a particular chart item?
It so happened that let me give an example of Indore.
Okay.
Now, Indore, you see, since I was I have gone to Mahakaleshwar many times. Now, when you go to Mahakaleshwar, normally from Delhi, either you go to Ujjain by train or you fly to Indore. You stay overnight in Indore. Next day, early morning, 3:30 is your Abhishekam in Mahakaleshwar. Now, what do you do in the evening? Best person to ask is the guy in the hotel or your rickshawala or your taxiwala. That forget, I don't want a big hotel. Take me where the good food is available. So you go to a city 3-4 times, don't stick to your hotel, just go explore with your auto rickshaw wala or your taxi wala. He'll take it to the best food joint.
Okay.
Try it out there. 8 out of 10 it works.
So that's how it happened for you.
It happened for me.
Okay. Okay. Now, you know that in all these orders, after you become a judge, in all these orders, at the top your name will be specified. At the bottom, only your initials will be specified. So for you, it is SPJ or something like that. In those times, when your juniors got lost, when certain unnamed people got lost in Jaipur and in Amritsar, and they called you and you gave them instructions, unfortunately, there was no Swiggy. They should have probably renamed you as Piggy, going by SPJ or SPG.
Yes.
Okay. Incidentally, favorite food?
Food.
No, favorite food.
Nothing favorite. I love food.
Okay, but pure vegetarian.
Pure vegetarian food anywhere.
Okay, tell me something. Since you're a pure vegetarian, after you were in the Madras High Court, were you ever at Madurai?
Yes, only for 6 days with chief.
Okay, so how did you manage with the food
No,
outside?
Madras was the unfortunate part. I could not go out and explore because I was a chief virtually the whole day, and
Okay,
then the next day's matter. So Madurai, I really couldn't enjoy food in Tamil Nadu because that 2 years went off like in the blink of before I could blink, the whole thing was over. So I really
okay.
could not enjoy good food in Tamil Nadu.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. Coming
Except
back.
for Madras, the Murugan Idli.
Oh, okay, right. So, how was your stay in Madras? I mean, given a choice between the climate, the food you said you really did not enjoy too much. But let's say between the climate, the food, and the people, which did you prefer? Remember, there are a lot of Madras lawyers here.
I know.
Uh,
You see, let me see. As far as the climate is concerned, being a Delhiite, yes, I want the summer, the winter, and I did miss the winters of Delhi in Chennai. That was because winters in Delhi are the best. You can
okay.
eat anything how much as you want, it get digest. Throughout the day, you can work as much as you want. You can have anything in Delhi during winter. So you can have a long walk and have a chole bhature, and then on your way back and have a samosa and come back.
Okay.
You
So,
you can't. But yes, people in Madras definitely much more warmer. You see, I'll give a simple example, and this time I don't intend to be politically correct, and I'm being straight from my heart. I'm now comparing persons with whom I interacted with, which is lawyers and judges. Lawyers and judges. Uh, Madras lawyers are submissive in nature. They really do not push. And this I'm speaking very honestly, and I've said so even in my favorite speech. And more so, I found it unfortunately in juniors. Kids who had the points in their hand, and despite my trying to prompt them, boss, come out. After 3 questions, buckle on and say, I leave it to your lordships. What I really want in the kids in Madras is to be more assertive and believe in your case more, which I found it is lacking in Madras High Court. And so I'm speaking straight from my heart. As a single judge, I found many times kids who had points in their hand, and unfortunately, I could feel they knew it. 3 questions and out. So I want children in Madras High Court to start believing in their cases, because they have to somewhere understand that a person has given his case in a hand. They
so,
have to fight.
so aggression is a necessary part of your psyche that you have to develop.
You have to develop in advocacy. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be short-tempered. You don't have to get angry. No. But you have to be persuasive. And persuasive you can. As they say, Jinnah did not get Pakistan by saying Pakistan once. You have to be persuasive, which I found was a bit lacking. Was lacking definitely amongst the younger lot. Only a few of them could, even after the first fall, the second hit, again to come up, stand up and argue it again. Barring a few juniors, majority of them would buckle. And that is primarily because of lack of confidence. Despite knowing what they want and what they have it in them. And that is the most unfortunate. It is not only unfortunate for the lawyer, it's unfortunate for the client who's believed in you.
True. True. Okay. Did you participate in the Advocate General's 11 with the Chiefs 11, the cricket match?
Well, yes, I was a good onlooker. I cheered both teams, and it was not good.
Okay. After you came to Madras, and after you cheered, you were in charge of the cheerleader waving
No,
the
no,
flags and all that.
no.
Uh, did anybody in Madras find out that you actually support their arch enemy in the IPL? You should be very careful after you become a judge of how your Facebook account is. You are a supporter of the Mumbai Indians. In spite of being a judge of the Madras High Court, how do you explain that to the lawyers here who are all serious cricketers?
Yes, that's a fact.
But is it a fact that you're a fan of the Mumbai Indians?
Yes, in the IPL league, yes.
Okay, and is it for the same quality of aggression that you said?
Probably.
Probably, yes. Okay. And probably we come to the final thing. As a judge, now you've now been a judge for almost 2 years. As a judge, do you miss your days as a lawyer?
Oh, yes.
In what way? Because nobody has ever said that before.
It's two different things. The adrenal rush to stand up, and I'm again being very honest. You see, what happened once when I was writing that land acquisition judgment. So one day I had to go to the court and wanted to get my notes. So I asked the OA to open the door. So I went in through the lawyer's entry, and then I went there and started the podium. I really felt, what the hell am I doing up there? So it's the adrenal rush as a lawyer, and the kick you get in turning a judge who's against you. That's unmatchable. That's priceless.
Okay. Well.
And but as a judge, yes, as a judge, again, it's a call for the nation. You want to be a judge. You want to do good for the society, and you take pride in advancing the law, which opportunity you get as a judge. But yes, the charm of being an advocate is entirely different.
What about this concepts of freedom of shall we say privacy, which are seriously affected once you become a judge? Don't you think? Have you missed that?
Well, no, because see, I was never a party animal. I never went for parties. As you know, I was all the time in my office only. So I really don't miss. Yes, I miss my kids. My office itself was always 10, 12 people. Used to every Friday evening was lunch out.
I've got a list of the hotels also.
And poor juniors who would take a drink or a two and thinking that they will not come back to office, coming back to office half drunk inside the office. Start working again. And there have been days when I've gone to the airport and suddenly come to know that my matter has been adjourned, and coming back and then finding my juniors missing, and then kicking their butts off to come back to office. So I was always in the office. Since I'm not a party animal or never met or mixed around with too many people, I don't miss it out as a judge or lack of privacy.
Okay. Now forget this thing about the Supreme Court, High Courts, judges, etc. If you had to give some kind of advice, for the simple reason that you've practiced for 28 years at the highest court in the land, and now you've become a judge. If you had to give a serious piece of advice to a batch of juniors, let's say you're attending the convocation of a law school, what would your advice be?
See, first of all, there's no substitute to hard work. You have to work very hard. Point number one. Point number two, I would suggest that juniors must put blinkers in their eyes and not start comparing themselves with others who are placed with them in the law college. Please understand that, and one must always understand one thing. Every person does not start at the same level. A judge's son or a senior advocate's son has got an advantage over the others. And you have no choice but to accept it. Put blinkers in your eyes, your friend in a firm would be earning 10 times what you have when you're starting individually. You have to open your blinkers only when you hit 35 plus. Because that is where ultimately after 15 years of practice, you realize where you stand. You might have a fast 100 meters and then you might slow down. His father was a judge, he might get an advantage, but then when his father retires, he does not get that support once again from the place where he's getting. So it is a marathon, not 100 meters. Don't start seeing immediately as to what your friends in your law college are doing. Keep working on what you got diligently. 15 years down the line, you'll find most of you live in the same place.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that wonderfully frank, wonderfully open, wonderfully candid, sometimes shocking statements. Number one. Number two, for the serious advice at the end to the juniors, especially in terms of attitude towards peers. And number three, I'm sure a lot of people watching, a lot of youngsters who want to make their mark in the Supreme Court would have definitely benefited by what you've said. And thank you also for the budget given to the senior advocates. I'm sure many of them will become seniors and will come there and will keep all this in mind. I'm sure a lot of your friends from Delhi, from the bar at Delhi are watching. In case anybody among the listeners has anything to ask Justice Subramonium Prasad, yeah, we have the first, the usual suspect, Mr. V.S. Jaikumar. Yeah.
Hi, sir.
Unmute Jaikumar.
How are you?
Very fine, sir. How are you, sir?
First of all,
there's some problem.
Prasad, when I met you, your son was just born. Up to 2015, you took me several times to. Now it's okay? Hello?
Yeah.
First time when I came to your house, you're so nice. Your mother, your father-in-law, mother-in-law, and you're just absolutely a very humane person. And you took me to Mr. T.L. Viswanathar's place. He was equally magnanimous, equally compassionate, equally sound lawyer as well. Then your son was named, when I just landed in your house, I think his name is Chaitanya, or I forgot his name. Sorry, correct. Apologies. Then 2015, when I came again, you said, I must argue the case before Rovington, Nariman and Sikri. And you said you will not appear. Because you're, of course, and you guided me how to argue. Most of it you told me is not what not to say. And it is
the best part in Supreme Court is you should know what not to say than what to say. Because
so that's the best advice you gave me. Yeah. And I earned an encomium in the judgment for your information.
Yeah.
In one line saying I was very fair.
I've read it.
Thank you very much for all your gesture. And regards to your mother-in-law, your wife, and your kids.
Thank you so much, sir.
For your HEF. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sriram. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaikumar. And we have. Our profession is the only profession where a 50-year-old is called a youngster. So we have another young Turk, R. Parthasarathi. Wilson, unmute Partha.
Hi, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm good. See, you were from CLC, and I incidentally happened to study in CLC too. I joined in 1991, missed you by a year. So one quick question, you remember the wisdom tree in Campus Law Center in the University of Delhi, right? Now, each of us have our own wonderful memory or memories of that tree. Any particular wisdom you gained there?
Well, I can say I am what I am because of the wisdom tree.
All of us are what we are because of that tree, at least from CLC.
Yes.
Anyways, it was a wonderful time listening to you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Partha.
Yeah.
Now we move on to the grand old dame of the Madras High Court. This is Hema Sampath. Wilson, unmute her. Better be careful, beware. Yes.
What, am I unmuted now?
Yes,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are.
Loud and clear, ma'am.
Ah, yes. I just wanted to, it was nice to know that you are a saint with a past. That's Nirulas and Chanakya Theatre, lot of ice cream, and
Yes,
very well within our means, I suppose, when you are a student.
Yes,
No, I
ma'am.
just want to know, when you're sitting up there in the podium,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you see all of us sitting there and scowling at you,
Yes, ma'am.
do you see us as animals?
Nah, ma'am.
Ah, what? No, I'm not asking you what you saw me as, but I'm just asking you in general.
No, ma'am. Actually, you see, 2029, I want to go back to practice. There's no doubt about it. So
Yes.
when I want to go back, in fact, what the best thing that's happening sitting up there is that I'm on the platter, I'm getting arguments from both sides in matters that appear tomorrow in the
Okay.
Supreme Court in 2029.
Mm.
So yes, I enjoy that because it is giving me a lot of insight on what I have missed, and number two, what I should not argue.
Correct. So nice to have you back here,
Thanks, ma'am.
virtually at least.
Thank
But
you,
we
ma'am.
didn't like you are running back to Delhi.
Yes, ma'am.
We still resent that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks, Mrs. Hema Sampath. And anybody else wants to ask anything? Wilson, has anybody raised their hand, Wilson?
No, sir. No one.
Okay, that means people are still working out the accounts of what you mentioned, the 40 lakhs and all that. So thank you very much. It was such good fun. We appreciate you speaking so candidly, especially in the last half an hour, 45 minutes. The things that you have said after specifying, it was literally man ki baat. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much, and we enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed
Oh, yes.
interacting
Lovely.
with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Atanya.
Right, bye.